The night of July 26th, 2019 was like any other in Chessington, southwest London. A few streetlights cast long shadows, and the hum of a distant motorway was the only sound on Moor Lane. But in a few moments, this quiet suburban street would become the scene of a crime so brutal, so calculated, it would shock even the most seasoned police officers. 3 friends, fresh from a pub, were walking home. A small, heated argument from earlier had fizzled out, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Then 2 headlights appeared from behind. This wasn't a warning. It wasn't an accident. This was a hunt. A hunt that would end with the death of one of the men. The car didn't slow down. It didn't swerve. The driver deliberately accelerated, using the vehicle not as a means of transport, but as a weapon. And what happened next would turn an ordinary Friday night into a cold-blooded killing. But who was the victim? And who were the hunters? This is the story of Liam Dent, a young father building a life for his children, whose name became synonymous with one of the most calculated killings the London Metropolitan Police had seen in years. It's a story of a pub argument that didn't end in fists, but in an act of vengeance that was both deliberate and entirely unnecessary. To the people of Chessington, Liam Dent was not a person who sought out trouble. At 25, he was a young father with a 10-year-old daughter and a toddler son. His life was focused on one thing: building a future for them. He was a soft-spoken, grounded man, and he was working on a mobile food business called Pull Up, Fill Up, serving Caribbean street food. He worked hard, saved his money, and invested everything into this dream. He had no criminal record, no gang affiliations, and no history of violence. He was, by all accounts, just a good man trying to make an honest living. So why did his life end on a dark London road? The answer lies with the man behind the wheel of the S-Max, Martin Eastwood. At 22, he had a dangerous history. Just a year before, he deliberately drove into a cyclist, leaving him seriously injured on the road. A year later, he used a car to attempt to rob a man and his girlfriend, driving straight at them. Eastwood saw cars not as a means of transport, but as a weapon. His violence wasn't random, it was targeted and personal. His close friend, Daniel Morris, also 22, was a follower, a quieter presence, but equally involved. And later, we'll learn about Jasmine Robinson, Eastwood's 19-year-old girlfriend, who, despite not being there, would play a crucial part in the aftermath. For this group, a verbal argument wasn't enough. When things escalated, they got in a car. The night had been uneventful for Liam and his friends at the Lucky Rover pub on Hook Road, but after closing time, a verbal row began with another group that included Martin Eastwood and Daniel Morris. The argument was fast and tense, and it spiraled quickly. No weapons were drawn, but an act of rage sealed their fate. One of Liam's friends picked up a pub sign and threw it, smashing the windscreen of a grey Volvo, the car Daniel Morris had been driving. The damage to the Volvo felt like a line had been crossed. The two groups separated, and it seemed to be over. But it wasn't. Eastwood and Morris had access to something more than just the Volvo. Something much darker was about to happen. Both Eastwood and Morris returned to the area, but this time they were in stolen vehicles running on false number plates. Eastwood was behind the wheel of a stolen Ford S-Max, and Morris followed closely in a black BMW. These weren't their personal cars, they were burner cars, meant to be used and then destroyed. At 12:10 a.m., the Ford S-Max didn't slow down. It accelerated directly at Liam, hitting him with immense force, trapping him beneath the vehicle. Witnesses described a sickening sound of metal grinding and tires turning, as well as the sound of Liam screaming in agony. The car kept going, dragging Liam's body for half a mile. Liam's body was finally dislodged when a friend, who was trying to catch up with the S-Max, clipped the vehicle, forcing Liam's body free. By the time help arrived, it was too late. Liam was pronounced dead at the scene at 12:50 a.m. Eastwood and Morris fled the area, torching the Ford S-Max in a nearby town just before 2 a.m. They thought they had destroyed the evidence, but they had left a trail they couldn't burn away. Police arrived on Moore Lane and discovered a long trail of evidence, a single trainer, shredded banknotes, skin, and the scraping marks of a body dragged along the tarmac. But the real breakthrough came from the burned-out S-Max itself. A police forensic team retrieved the vehicle's black box, its telematics system. Inside was a complete record of the car's movements, time-stamped GPS data, speeds and acceleration patterns. The data painted a chilling picture of that night, revealing every turn and every terrifying second of the pursuit. With the evidence from the black box, CCTV, and witness accounts, police had a clear picture of what happened. They now had to find the people behind it. Within hours of the killing, Eastwood had vanished. The job of helping him escape fell to his girlfriend, Jasmine Robinson. She booked him a coach ticket to Sheffield under a false name, giving him a head start in his escape. But what they couldn't erase were their text messages, which revealed the emotional chaos that followed the killing. In one, Robinson asked Eastwood, "You fucked it all up, and for what?" A couple of seconds of empowerment. The manhunt for Eastwood intensified. Officers tracked his movements, reviewed phone data, and pieced together the trail he and his girlfriend had left behind. On August 15, 2019, Martin Eastwood was arrested and charged with murder. A network of people involved was slowly pulled apart. Daniel Morris was also arrested and admitted his role in court. Jasmine Robinson was arrested for assisting an offender. The net had been drawn slowly and deliberately until there was no room left to move. The case went to trial at the Old Bailey. On April 6, 2022, the sentences were delivered. For a crime that was deemed methodical and calculated, the prosecution's case was strong. Martin Eastwood, the man who used his car as a weapon, was given a life sentence with a minimum term of 30 years for murder. Daniel Morris, his accomplice who had admitted to manslaughter, was sentenced to 5 years and 6 months, and Jasmine Robinson, who assisted in the escape, received a 2-year suspended sentence. The justice system had finally spoken. But for Liam's family, the pain was far from over. His mother, Stacey Dent, was among the first to arrive at the scene of the crime. She later described the moment in court, saying, "I could see the absolute destruction of what happened to him." She held her son in her arms, knowing he was gone, and her heart was completely ripped apart. She spoke directly to Eastwood in court, asking, "Why couldn't you have just stopped and spared my son his life?" Liam's partner, Maisie Johnson, begged for help from the public, saying, "My children have lost their father, and I have lost my soulmate." Despite the media coverage and police appeals, a troubling silence remained in the community. People who had been there, who had seen or knew what happened, stayed quiet. It was a silence born of fear, loyalty, or simply the desire to stay out of it. Stacey Dent addressed this directly, saying, "I know how scared people are to come forward, but this is a callous crime. I don't have any doubt this person will do it again." That silence, perhaps more than anything, haunted the family and their quest for justice. The verdicts brought some closure, but the pain and the memory of that brutal night remain a scar on the community of Chessington and a stark reminder of how a petty argument can lead to a calculated and cold-blooded killing. If you're new to our channel and want to hear more true UK crime stories told exactly as they happened, make sure to like and subscribe. There's always another case to uncover.